He didn't kill dozens, he never wielded a chainsaw, he didn't run a motel. And yet, Ed Gein became the blueprint for some of the most terrifying figures in cinema history. Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, even Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. Now Netflix's new series, Monster, the Ed Gein Story, adds a new layer to his legend. A mysterious woman named Adeline Watkins, his secret lover, his confidant, even his accomplice. But the truth is far less dramatic and far more human. Edward Theodore Gein was born in 1906 in Plainfield, Wisconsin. He grew up on an isolated farm with no electricity, no running water, and a mother who shaped his entire worldview. Augusta Gein was deeply religious, fanatically controlling, and convinced that all women except herself were corrupt and evil. She forbade Ed from making friends, dating, or trusting anyone outside their home. When Augusta died in 1945, Ed was 39 years old and utterly alone. Grief consumed him. Over the next decade, he began visiting local cemeteries at night, exhuming bodies of recently buried women. He didn't kill them, he stole them. Inside his decaying farmhouse, investigators later discovered bowls made from human skulls, lampshades stitched from skin, and a full woman suit crafted from corpses, so Ed could become his mother again. Officially, he was only ever convicted of 2 murders: Mary Hogan, a tavern owner, in 1954, and Bernice Warden, a hardware store clerk, in 1957. But the horror wasn't in the number of victims, it was in the depth of his delusion. But much of the recent attention isn't just about Ed Gein himself. It's about a woman few knew during his lifetime, Adeline Watkins. In Netflix's Monster, she's portrayed as Ed's longtime lover, someone who knew his secrets, helped him dig up graves, and even introduced him to Ilse Koch, the infamous Nazi war criminal known as the Witch of Buchenwald. But none of that is true. Adeline Watkins was real. She lived near Plainfield and did know Ed Gein, but their relationship lasted less than a year. In 1957, shortly after Gein's arrest, she gave an interview to the Minneapolis Tribune. In it, she claimed they'd been together for 20 years. She called him good and kind, said she loved him, and even suggested he almost proposed. But just weeks later, she retracted everything. In the Stevens Point Journal, she clarified, yes, she'd known Ed for 2 decades, but their romantic involvement lasted only about 7 months. She had never been inside his house. She had no idea what he was doing at night. And she certainly never helped him rob graves. In reality, their dates were quiet and ordinary. They went to the movies. She drank beer. He ordered milkshakes. He'd talk about crime stories in the newspaper, not with excitement, but with a strange, detached curiosity. He'd ask, what did the killer do wrong? At the time, it seemed like harmless speculation. Today, it sounds like a warning. Netflix's version invents a connection that never existed. Adeline never met Ilse Koch. Koch was imprisoned in Germany during the years Gein was active. There's zero evidence Adeline knew about his crimes before his arrest, and there is absolutely no proof she participated in any of them. So why did Netflix turn her into a co-conspirator? Because the real Ed Gein wasn't cinematic. He was a reclusive, mentally ill man who barely spoke to anyone. To make his story dramatic, the writers needed tension, intimacy, moral ambiguity. So they gave him a lover who almost understood him, but also enabled him. The problem? This erases the real Adeline Watkins. She wasn't a villain. She was a neighbor who briefly cared for a deeply disturbed man. After his arrest, she tried to correct the record, only to be drowned out by sensational headlines calling her the grave robber's mistress. And now, nearly 70 years later, Netflix revives that myth, not as history, but as entertainment. This isn't just about one woman's story being twisted. It's about how true crime becomes legend, how facts give way to fiction, and how real people, victims, witnesses, even bystanders, get reshaped to fit a narrative. Ed Gein's legacy isn't just in the horror films he inspired. It's in the way we keep retelling his story, often at the expense of the truth. The real Adeline Watkins was not a secret accomplice. She was a woman who dated the wrong man at the wrong time and got trapped in a nightmare she never saw coming. If you found this breakdown helpful, consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into true crime's most haunting cases. And let me know in the comments, should true crime shows stick to the facts, or is creative license part of the genre? Until next time, stay curious, but stay critical.